What's up, Steemit? Brian Phobos here, and today we're going to have a pool meeting about where does the money come from on Steemit. It's actually one of the most common questions I get, and I think one of the early on, got a whale here, this out of the way. So basically, I'm going to approach this from a different angle than most people would approach it. So first, let's just say you've probably bought into the idea of Bitcoin or Litecoin having value. If you haven't, then you're probably not going to end up ever kind of grasping, the whole situation with Steemit and all that, and how that relates. So Bitcoin and Litecoin, they act more like commodities than they do currencies. And let's take it back, like, why is a commodity worth a certain amount? Why is oil worth a certain amount? Why is gold and silver worth a certain amount? So let's focus on gold and silver, because Bitcoin and Litecoin are like that. So when you mine gold, or you mine copper, or you mine silver, if you're spending more money in diesel fuel, employees, and equipment than what that gold or silver is worth, then you have an unprofitable mine, and you're going to end up shutting the mine down. So, and that happens all the time. When the value goes down, they shut the mine down. Same thing with cryptocurrencies. If your electricity costs are more than what the coins are worth, you're going to shut your computers off. You're going to shut the mine down. And ultimately, what all that stuff's worth is dictated by an open market, and it's worth whatever somebody's willing to pay for it. Same thing with houses and cars. How much is it worth? Whatever somebody's willing to pay for it. And some of you might be like, oh, Bitcoin's not worth that much. Yeah, it is. Somebody was willing to pay for it, so it's worth that. So that's really what it boils down to. Now, what kind of utility does Bitcoin and Litecoin have? So you could say, well, you can, transfer value all over the world, and it has it has a utility, it has a purpose, and it's a functional system. It's secure, these kind of things. And so there is a value aspect to that over, let's say, current banking systems or those. There's the finite supply situation. So there's, a value proposition there. I think you would all agree on that. Now, with something like Steem, is there a value proposition for it versus Litecoin or Bitcoin? Absolutely. Faster block times, 3-second block times. You've got no transaction fees on the network. You've got the ability to obviously run these kind of mechanisms like Steemit and Busy.org and eSteem, and that those platforms were able to be built on top of the Steem blockchain. Bitcoin would not be capable of running Steemit.com. It's not capable of it. It's not for that. Transaction times, there's too many transactions going on Steemit. See, we're the number one network. There's more transactions happening on the Steem blockchain than any other blockchain, because every one of your votes, every one of your comments, that's a transaction. So that being said, there is a utility to it from that aspect. So then from a social media perspective, there's this viable utility to the blockchain, but let's say from a social media standpoint, how is Steemit valuable compared to Twitter or Facebook or those kind of things? Now, commanding traffic is extremely valuable, and that's why you see stuff like Twitter. I was saying back in 2012 that Twitter would never be profitable, and that has played true. They have never been profitable. Now you say, how is that possible? I think Gary Vee got rich off of Twitter, and all these investors made all this money. Well, that's true. They're venture capitalists. They were in early, and essentially when it went public, then there's a whole nother set of your just everyday investors then investing in it, and basically is buying their stake of it, and they're able to sell it out over time. And but the value in it, even before there was any kind of monetization on Twitter, was that it was commanding all this traffic, and there was all this user engagement and all these people on Twitter. Well, Steemit has that same value in the fact that there are a lot of people signing on to the platform, and also Google is able to crawl Steemit, and we're able to get organic traffic through Google for all the stuff you're writing. So all these things you're writing that's being crawled by Google, and people could end up finding Steemit.com through a Google search or through a YouTube video like this. Somebody might be watching this and being like, what's Steemit? So we are creating that. We are like we are creating this huge organic traffic funnel for Steemit Incorporated in a way. And I'm fine by that because there is a monetary incentive for me to do so. So they're commanding a lot of traffic, and there's a lot of different ways that they can go with that. Ultimately, they can end up adding on their own ad engine or putting AdSense on there and collecting a ton of revenue from Steemit.com through those mechanisms and using an ad system. And that's one of the biggest things where people can't wrap their head around. They're thinking, okay, well, there's all this money, where is it coming from? Because there's no ads. We're so used to an ad-based compensation structure with like radio, television, Facebook, YouTube. All of it's ad-driven. It's the revenue model. And this one's different. It's just like, well, provide this utility and this demand for Steam, and then people will potentially buy it as a speculative investment that they're willing to pay for it for that much, in the hopes that it will go up over time. And it's an early investment, like a venture capitalist, like the people that invested in Twitter early on, and or that they're going to have that, and then they're actually going to power that up in the system, and they're going to earn from curation or content creation and be able to get more visibility and pay themselves from that. Now you say like, well, that's kind of a perpetual motion machine. They're going to pay themselves with their investment. But that happens all the time. Let's say like real estate, for instance. You put money into real estate, you power up your money into real estate, and then you're able to earn, let's say, rental income off of it. And then at the end of, let's say, that time that you have that rental property, you could have it for 20 or 30 years. You could end up selling that and getting the value back out of that. And it's like, well, okay, is that a perpetual motion machine? You powered your money up into that investment, made money on it over time, and then got your investment out. So it's kind of similar to that in that respect. But ultimately, to answer the question, where does the money come from that we're getting paid to blog, is from early investors. And you essentially think of yourself on Steemit.com as an early investor / kind of like an employee. You're not really an official employee of Steemit Incorporated, but you're sort of like an early employee or a marketing consultant for Steemit. And what you're doing is creating content that is driving more and more and more traffic to the platform. And ultimately, they'll be able to sell that. Steemit Incorporated will either be able to sell the entire platform to somebody else, or sell the website, Steemit.com, or they will be able to monetize it further with advertisements. So there's so many different plays, but user engagement and traffic is very, very valuable. And that's how these things like Twitter had so much investment in them. I get pissed off all the time of people saying that Snapchat is worth this amount, worth billions of dollars. It's just like, it's never going to make money. It's never going to earn a penny. But there will be people who are early investors who are able to ride that appreciation up and that valuation and then make money. So anyway, you're an early investor. You're creating a huge marketing funnel. We're getting paid. And so hopefully that answers your question. Thanks for attending the pool meeting.